Maybe you've told yourself, I'm too old to build muscle. I've got the wrong body type. It's just harder for me because of my age, metabolism, or genetics. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you have tried bulking up before, but all you got was frustration, fat gains, or even no gains. You tried the high protein diets, the clean eating, the workouts that you've seen on YouTube and Instagram, but nothing sticks long enough for you to actually see results. And meanwhile, everyone else around you seems to be getting jacked overnight. Here's the truth though, you could build muscle at any age or starting point, but you have to be able to follow the right fundamentals. I've worked with adult men of all ages, as young as 18 and as old as 65, all of whom thought it was too late for them because they didn't start in high school. But once they learned how to eat, train, and recover properly, they gained strength. They built visible lean muscle, and most importantly, they completely transformed their physiques, all without stressing their joints or having to ditch their favorite foods. And today I'm going to show you how to do the same. In this video, I'll walk you through the steps to build a simple yet science-based program regardless of your age, body type, or training experience. You'll learn the exact steps to start putting on muscle safely, efficiently, and naturally. The best part is, by the end of this video, you'll be able to start as early as today. This plan works whether you're 22 or 62, 120 pounds or 220 pounds, whether you're skinny, overweight, or anywhere in between. It doesn't matter. But if you want to put these tips into place even faster, I put together a list of the 7 daily habits you must implement if you want to accelerate your muscle growth. You can grab it for free with the link in the description below. Let's get started. First, I'm going to talk about how to gain muscle with your diet. Let's start with the macro that's the building block for your gains: protein. No matter where you're at, if you're not getting enough protein, you're not building any muscle, period. So if you're eating in a calorie surplus, you're going to want to shoot for at least 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. You should achieve this on a day-to-day basis, regardless of whether you're training or resting. So for example, let's say you were 150 pounds. You would want to shoot for at least 120 grams of protein per day. But if you're in a deficit, you want to bump that up to 1 gram of protein. This is relatively easy to achieve with just 2 to 3 solid meals a day, but optionally, if you're still struggling with hitting your protein goal, you could throw in an additional 1 to 2 scoops of protein powder. For example, you can mix protein powder with anything like water, milk, oats, or yogurt. And for the best possible results, divide your protein intake across 2 or more feedings. You don't need to worry about eating every 2 or 3 hours because of some anabolic window. That simply doesn't exist, and as long as you're hitting your protein throughout the entire day as a whole, you're good to go. But obviously, once you've put this into place, how much do you need to eat? So let's say you're starting at a lower body fat percentage and you want to bulk up. You'd want to shoot for 200 to 300 calories above maintenance. That's enough to fuel muscle growth without adding excess fat. But if suddenly the weight on the scale isn't moving upwards anymore, you've hit a dietary plateau and you need to continue to slowly increase your calories to get back on track. But if you're struggling to eat more, increase your healthy dietary fats like avocados, nuts and nut butters, oils, and dark chocolate. Make sure you stay away from artificial mass gainer shakes. They're overpriced and they offer no additional benefits as opposed to you making your own natural mass gainer shake with sustainably sourced whole foods. But what if you're on the opposite end of the spectrum and are starting at a slightly higher body fat percentage? Will you still be able to gain muscle? The answer is yes. Since building muscle is a new stimulus for you, you'll be able to make gains even while eating below maintenance. You'll want to shoot for 500 calories under what it takes to maintain your current weight. If you find that your weight is stalled, keep dropping your calories by 100 to 200 until you're losing a pound a week on the scale. You could use a maintenance calorie tracker to estimate your starting point, a food scale to weigh out your food, and then any tracking app to log what you're eating and drinking so you're constantly monitoring and managing your intake. But if calories matter, then what about the quality of food? You don't need to eat clean 24/7, but I do recommend that 80 to 90% of your foods come from minimally processed, nutrient-dense sources. Some great examples would be lean proteins, regardless of whether they're meat or plant-based. Whole carbs, such as rice, oats, and potatoes, fruits and vegetables, and healthy fats. And then the other 10 to 20%, enjoy your favorite foods guilt-free. That's how you stay consistent long-term without burning out. Calories in versus calories out is what ultimately matters in the end. No food will automatically make you fat the same way that no food will automatically make you gain muscle. You might be hearing all of this and think, wow, this is a lot more simple than I thought. And the reality is, it really is this simple if you're implementing all of these fundamentals correctly and then staying consistent in the long term. Success isn't achieved with one grand event. In reality, it's a collection of microscopic habits built up on a day-to-day basis and then maintained over the long term. No matter what anyone else tells you, regardless of all the cryptic terminologies and scientific jargon that they use, there are only a few important steps that you need to follow with your diet to put yourself in the position to make real gains. It doesn't matter whether you're in high school or middle-aged. The steps all remain the same regardless of where you're starting from. But if dieting is that simple, what about the training aspect? If you're a beginner and you want to put on muscle as fast as possible, you're probably wondering, what's the best workout to build muscle? And look, I get it. You want a clear black and white answer so you could follow the blueprint and immediately get those results. But here's the honest truth. There's no singular workout that everybody could use and get the same results. Because building muscle isn't a one-size-fits-all type of process. Your genetics, your lifestyle, your recovery, your nutrition, all of these factor in how well a specific training program works for you. But with that being said, thankfully, the fundamentals themselves don't change at all. What you need to have down, regardless of what training program you choose, includes proper training intensity, appropriate volume, sufficient frequency, smart exercise selection, and then progressive overload as the backbone for your program. But whether you train 3 days a week or 5, whether you're hitting your chest once or twice per week, whether you do 8 sets for one muscle or 12, you get the idea. None of that is definitively right or wrong until you test it in the real world and are actually applying each concept properly. So how do you know what actually works best for you? Muscle growth happens slowly. So if you're trying to judge the success of a workout plan based on visual results alone in just a few weeks' time, that's a recipe for disaster. Instead, start basing your progress on the most reliable metric of them all: strength gains. This is how you determine if you're properly progressively overloading, especially as a beginner. If you're comparing two programs and program A allows you to consistently lift heavier weights while performing more reps than program B, then it's obvious that program A is the protocol that you should be investing into. But why does that make it better for hypertrophy? Because muscle size and strength are highly correlated, especially for new natural lifters. So forget chasing the perfect plan. Your best bet is to find a well-rounded routine that you enjoy and can stick to. Track your performance every single workout. So this means writing down the amount of sets you did and how many reps you did for each set, and then how close you were to failure. And lastly, keep that log as reference so you know what you did last workout and what you need to do next time to improve. This could mean adding an additional rep, slightly increasing the weight, or just slowing down the negative on each movement you're performing. Progressive overload comes in many forms, but if you're a complete beginner, the two that you're going to want to place the most emphasis are increasing your reps and weight over time. And once you start seeing progression, double down and hone your skills on those specific movements instead of trying to program hop. It's a lot harder to track progressive overload when you're constantly switching up your workouts. Now let's talk rep ranges, because your program means absolutely nothing if you're not training correctly. So I've heard that all rep ranges are equally effective for muscle growth as long as you're training close to failure. While that's technically true on a set-by-set basis, that concept falls apart when you zoom out to your entire program. You can't expect to apply the exact same rep range for every single workout and see the same results. But as far as most workouts, the rep range that I would recommend to natural builders to maximize muscle growth is anywhere between 5 and 10 reps per set. Here's why. The last few reps before failure are what trigger muscle growth. High rep sets between 15 and 30 reps require so much junk volume just to get to those last few reps before failure, which ends up wasting excess energy and time. In super high rep sets, you're your cardiovascular system becomes the limiting factor as opposed to your muscles. And that's not what you want in a hypertrophy-focused workout. You end up achieving what's called technical failure instead of muscular failure, which means stopping the set because you're tired rather than stopping the set because your muscles failed. Longer sets increase the probability of more fatigue, more burn, more muscle soreness, and more form breakdown. All of these can sabotage future training, whether it's the same session or your next workout. And on the flip side, super low rep sets in a 1 to 3 rep range increase joint stress, require longer rest, and aren't practical for most hypertrophy-based lifters unless maximizing strength is your goal. So what should you do? Like I said earlier, stick between 5 and 10 reps for compound lifts. I also prefer to use this rep range for most isolation movements, but I find that sticking between 10 and 15 reps works best for those smaller isolation-based exercises such as rear delt flies or lateral raises. I also prefer to use that slightly higher rep range for movements with limited ranges of motion, such as calf raises or any kind of shrugging variation. I personally never train with anything less than 8 reps on a lateral raise because the side delt is a very small and delicate muscle, and going too heavy using a 1 rep in reserve intensity in the rep range of 5 to 7 increases the probability of injury and joint stress. Only mix in really low or high rep ranges occasionally. Don't use them as your foundation. But regardless of my opinion on what the best rep ranges are, it'll always be a subjective topic to most people. So comment below, what rep ranges do you find work best for you? I read every comment and I'd love to know your opinion on this topic. Most trainers, when they discuss how to put on muscle, they excessively hammer the finer details about training and nutrition like I just did. But they fail to mention, how does recovery play into all of this? Is muscle built inside the gym, or is there something larger at play? Let me tell you about a client of mine. His name is Chris. See, Chris came to me at 31 years old, 2 kids, full-time job, thinking his best days were behind him. He wasn't a total beginner though. He had lifted on and off for years, since high school even, but his recovery was little to non-existent. He was sleeping 5 hours a night, training 5 to 6 days a week, and hammering every muscle group with excessive supersets. At the end of the day, he gave up because he wasn't seeing any gains. After hearing all of this, I asked him one question. When do you think the muscle is built? During the workout or after? He paused and told me, I guess after. He was right. You don't grow in the gym. You grow when you recover. And without proper recovery, especially as we age, your body definitely can't grow. That was the moment everything clicked for him. Muscle growth is triggered in the gym, but it's built in your sleep, repaired during rest days, and solidified with your recovery as a whole. Every rep that you do contributes towards muscle damage. This damage can be controlled and trigger growth if your body has the resources to rebuild stronger. Now yes, when you're fresh out of high school and in your early 20s, you can get away with a lot more. Slightly less sleep, slightly more volume, even slightly more junk food. Your body's just naturally primed to recover faster at that age. But the older you get, the more the margin for error shrinks. To focus on optimizing recovery isn't as minor anymore. It's a non-negotiable. What does this look like for older guys? You might need more rest days between sessions. It's not because you're lazy, because your joints, your tendons, and your central nervous system all take a little bit longer to bounce back. You might need to scale back your volume slightly while keeping your quality of workouts intact. Chasing more sets won't help you if your nervous system is fried within a couple of weeks. Keep your intensity higher without always needing to train to failure. This means training between 1 and 3 reps short of true muscular failure. And once you're out of the gym, you need deep, high-quality sleep. That's when growth hormone and testosterone production peak. It's also when muscle protein synthesis is maximized. And finally, it's when your body can recharge for your next session. I told Chris, you're not lazy for taking more rest days, you're simply just being strategic. Growth happens when you recover better, not just when you train harder. So we ended up pushing his training back to simply 3 days a week. We cleaned up his evening routine. This means less screen time, less lifestyle stressors, and most importantly, more wind down time to prime for an even better following day. He started getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep consistently, 7 days a week. 6 weeks later, his lifts were going up. His joints didn't ache anymore. He woke up feeling stronger instead of more sore. But most importantly, he started to see real visible muscle growth for the first time in years. So whether you're in your 20s or your 50s, if your progress is stalling, your joints are constantly aching, and your energy's few and far between, the issue might not always be your training or diet. It might just be your recovery strategy. Strategic athletes know that training isn't about going all out all the time. They know when to pull back, reset, and then come back stronger. Don't just treat rest like a reward. Treat it like what it actually is, part of your program. So that's it, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you that made it to the end of this video. No matter where you're starting in your fitness journey, it's never too late to become unrecognizable. And don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. I believe in you all more than I believed in myself when I first started. But if this video motivated you to take action and you want an even deeper dive on each of the topics that we discussed today, be sure to join my free school community, Muscle Truth University, for free with the link in the description below. You'll have direct access to my support and even more education via modules, workshops, and Q&As. I challenge everyone here to take action and build the physique that they deserve to have. I'll catch you guys on the next one.